Africa. When the Britannia sailed into the port of Durban, she brought with her typical British weather. The royal entourage had arrived in the resort city, along with the South African rally crews, who were there to do battle on the first event of the South African Championship, the Tour de Total Rally. After a long 5-month layoff, Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide would be first into the stages to defend the rally they had won the previous 2 years in a row.
Yes, it's nice to, after a long break of doing nothing and starting the rally season, and I've always enjoyed coming to Durban. It's one of my favorite events, and I hope I can repeat the result I had last year. The last 2 years I've had a good start, and then towards the middle of the season I've had some bad luck camping. But I hope this year we can have a sort of a consistent season and win most of the events.
With the lifting of the total flag, the Mayor of Durban set the top seeds into Stage 1, a short gymkhana type stage within the workshop complex in central Durban. Serge and Vito had to work hard last year for their 3rd consecutive championship title, winning it on the very last event of the season. Toyota's strategy was simple: don't mess with a winning formula. The 4-wheel drive Conquest has needed very little development during the off-season, and this year's car is just a refined version of what Serge and Vito rallied in last year. Seeded second is the Pretoria-based crew of Hannes Grobler and Pierre Aries. This is Pierre's first season in a Class A navigator seat and openly admits to relishing the thought. Pierre has moved up from the Western Cape to join the Bankford Nissan team, a big step up in his rallying career.
Into 80 meters, hairpin right here. Into 80 meters, hairpin left. Into 50 meters, 90 left. 90 left, yeah. 50 meters, 90 left again. 70 meters, hairpin left. 50 meters, hairpin right. 80 meters, hairpin left. 40 meters, 90 left. Followed by 40 meters, 90 left again. 90 left. Into flying finish, keep straight, and 90 left. As I.
The Natal crew of Jan Habich and Douglas Judd unveiled their newly built Volkswagen Golf Mark III. After a season of gearbox problems last year, Habich has opted for the new X-Track 6-speed gearbox in this car, which he is hoping will improve the car's traction in the typically tight South African rally stages. Jan and Douglas transport us from the tar on Stage 1 to the mud on Stage 2. Having successfully debuted in a Class A Toyota last year, Brady Dabner, now with fellow Cape Townian Guy Hodgson, intend to give the top seeds a run for their money this year. They clocked 2nd fastest time on Stage 1. But Serge is a hard man to beat and takes Stage 2 in a time of 4 minutes and 56 seconds. 5th on the road is Luna de Cunha and Francois Pretorius in the 2nd Bankford Nissan Dealer Team Centre. Behind them, the Natal crew of Peter Altersky and Alan Bissett in the 3rd Class A 4x4 Conquest. The 4-wheel drive traction a huge advantage to these drivers as conditions steadily deteriorate. Rudolf Kurzer and Franz Boshoff got caught by a last-minute change to Stage 2. The Ford Sapphire taking the wrong road and losing close to a minute in the process of turning the Sapphire around and retracing their course. Their rally was to be short-lived, with the team only completing 2 stages. Altersky and Bissett had a close shave on the stage, to wash away the cause of the damage. The 2-wheel drive cars were having the worst of the muddy roads, with Class B set to be a showdown once again between the Golfs of Leon Botha and Tony Ball. Joining them after a long layoff, the Turbo Uno of Paolo Piazzamusso, here with Cindy Harding on the maps. Glenn Durman and Etienne Lawrence headed the Class C battle and looked like the men to beat in conditions that had anyone available lending a helping hand at the service areas. On to stage 4 and drama, as Serge Damso appears with smoke billowing from the Conquest. Lubricating fluid from the four-wheel drive system is burning on the exhaust, and the burst pipe has robbed the car of drive to the rear wheels. Serge has only limited control of the car, and as he sweeps through the spectator point, the Conquest breaks loose, leaving the road and ploughing into the cane field.
Help us! Help us!
The crew seem little affected by the flames under the car. Vito apparently more worried about losing time on the stage. The 35 seconds lost to Hannes Grobler is enough to change the order for the lead, and the Nissan crew move to the top of the scoreboard. Uninvolved and unaffected, Jan Habich and Douglas Judd press on, the Golf not as close to the pace as expected. Radio contact has the crew ready and waiting for the Toyota. Any time lost in servicing could result in penalties added to the score sheet. The service crew do well in getting the Toyota to the start of stage 5 on time. Behind the Toyota, the new leader waits to enter the stage.
It's 10.
Habich's new Golf has a host of small problems that need to be ironed out. The crew have been unable to match the pace of the leading cars. After 4 stages, they held 4th on the score sheet, having lost a place to Brady Dabner and Guy Hodgson. Long sections of the stage have become waterlogged, and the gearbox and traction control are not yet working as one, causing the Golf to slow through these bad sections. The Golf is visibly slower through the stage, and the sound of the drivetrain can be heard above the engine.
200 grid. 200 turn off right. 100 turn off right. Turn off right, yes, slip road.
Ahead of the Golf on the road, Serge and Vito finished the stage, recording a time of 8 minutes and 5 seconds. 5 seconds faster than the Nissan of Hannes Grobler and Pierre Arries. Habich and Judd crossed the flying finish at the end of the stage, a full 53 seconds slower than the Toyota. They are not the only car having problems. Behind them, Brady Dabner and Guy Hodgson push themselves too hard in an effort to catch the 2 leading cars. As a result, the Bankman Toyota leaves the road on 2 occasions, and the crew are forced to slow their pace and regain their thoughts. They also lose time on the stage, bringing the gap between themselves and the Golf down to just 2 seconds.
Take your camera away.
The pressure is starting to show. Leon Buerter and Francois Jordan have recorded consistently faster times, giving them a 21-second lead over Tony Ball and Marty Olivier. This is the first outing for Tony and Marty as a driver-navigator pair, and time is needed for the crew to gel. The heavy rains have turned many of the roads into rivers, resulting in last-minute changes to the course. This, in turn, puts pressure on the crews, who must instantly adapt to the changes. On stage 6, Hannes and Pierre lose their way, wasting over a minute in the process, and the Nissan crew drop to 3rd on the score sheet, 5 seconds behind Habich and Judd. This sudden promotion to 2nd place overall puts a spark back into the Golf's crew. The lead has once again been secured by Serge and Vito, who won all but stages 3 and 4. Hannes and Pierre are back to 3rd, now 4 seconds behind Habich and Judd. Dabner and Hodgson are fourth, with Botha and Jordan leading the two-wheel drive entry in fifth place overall.
It's been a bit of a different event because of the condition of the rallies. You know, the whole afternoons, like Hannes and myself changing position, and then he went, lost a minute and a half, so we're back in front again. So 2 more stages and then we'll have a regroup for tomorrow morning.
Two night stages follow the break, the first of which is a short dash through the streets of Umhlanga Rocks. The stage forms part of the Umhlanga Festival, and despite the constant rain, the locals line the streets, attracted by the noise and the lights.
100, 90 left, followed by hairpin right. 50 meters, 90 left, yeah. Hairpin right, hairpin left. Reverse left, followed by fork sweep left, tightens into, tight left, tight left, yeah. 100 meters, tight right, tight left.
Serge and Vito complete the 1 kilometer stage in a winning time of 53 seconds. Habich loses time and their second place to Grobler, who emerges 18 seconds ahead of the Gulf. The final stage of the day is a muddy run through the cane fields on the outskirts of Umhlanga. Habich again has a bad run through the mud and loses a further 2 minutes to Grobler and Aries, who end the day in a secure second place. Brady Dabner and Guy Hodgson move up to third place, 47 seconds ahead of the Gulf. Leon Botha drowns his Class B Gulf, and the crew stand for 5 minutes in the stage before the car is able to continue. Day 2 starts on the bright side for Tony Ball and Marty Olivier, and it's not just the weather. They now hold a 3-minute lead in Class B. But it's the Class A leaders that start the second and final day, leading the 27 surviving crews down the south coast to stage 10 near Scottsboro. We pick up Serge and Vito on stage 11, 6 kilometers in length and still very wet from the previous day's rain. Serge is able to increase his pace on these roads, which seem to have a firmer surface than the roads on the north coast. Behind them, Hannes presses on. His time's a second or so off the Toyota's pace. Dabner is on the same minute as Hannes, just seconds separate second from third. Habich and Judd press on slowly, sorting out problems with the new car as they arise.
Left, set fork left, turn around.
On stage 12, Serge and Vito miss a left fork, losing time in getting back on the route. Only about 20 seconds are lost to Grobler, but it's time that has been hard worked for, and the Toyota crew are unsettled. Their lead remains intact, just slightly reduced to 1.5 minutes. Further behind in Class B, Ball and Olivier continue almost unchallenged in their class. The Uno of Piazza Musso and Harding got stuck in stage 10, the first stage of the day, and have dropped back, 5 minutes behind the Gulf of Botha and Jordan. But the never say die Leon Botha steps up his pace, his mind set on the position now held by Ball and Olivier. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley not only lead their class, but have placed themselves in 5th place overall behind the leading Class A cars. Just under 3 minutes behind them are the Natal crew of Trevor Graham and Peter Chadwick. Dani Nordia and Thilo van Westenhagen in the ex-Enzo Kuhn Class A Ford Laser. In 11th place overall, Johan Clements and Brian Duncan in the Class A two-wheel drive Toyota Conquest. The leaders prepare to start stage 14. The order remains the same, with Serge and Vito able to recover some of the seconds lost on stage 12 with a good time on stage 13. Honnes and Pierre have maintained their lead over Dabner and Hodgson to a constant 1 minute. Brady has kept the pressure on Honnes, and one mistake could see a change of position in the top 3 placings. The Nissan suffers a flat tyre deep into stage 14, and the crew are forced to press on rather than stop and change the wheel. This slows the centre, and Brady Dabner closes the gap to just a few seconds. The sub-assembly is also badly damaged, and the service crew need time to weld the fracture. Time lost in servicing results in time lost on the scoreboard, and the tension rises in the Nissan crew. Dabner and Hodgson end the stage having gained a few seconds in their fight for second place. Only one stage remains before the mid-morning regroup. On to stage 15 and a look down the field to see what's happening in the lower classes. Lawrence and Paisley still lead in Class C and the two-wheel drive cars. They are well over a minute faster than Ball and Olivier, who lead Class B, ahead of Buerta and the Uno. We join Trevor Graham and Peter Chadwick in their Class C Conquest, which currently holds 7th position overall.
There.
Hey, this way.
On the right,
that small mistake cost just seconds, but they pass the Tony Ball Marty Olivier Golf with its front wheels hanging off a bridge, effectively putting the Class B car out of the running.
There we go. 2 right here.
I got caught out on a left-hander going onto a narrow bridge, and it was very, very slippery. I was the first two-wheel drive there. I tried the power, I tried the brakes, and nothing helped. We just slipped off the road with the front wheels dropping off. We were quite lucky. There were a couple of locals on the bank, but half a K away, they ran down to help us, and we pushed and lifted and jacked, etc., etc. We got back on the road, but we lost 35 minutes.
2 stages ago, we picked up a bit of a heat seize, damaged the rings. It's pushing out about 2.5 pints of oil on 16K, so I've got to just nurse it now. I've got a bit of a bump of about 2 minutes on Trevor, so if I just got to keep it there and not rev it more than 5, I've got a bit of time to spare, so we'll try and keep it together.
Serge has opened nearly 3 minutes on Honnes and Pierre, Dabner a further 1.5 minutes behind them. Class C is a 2-car race with Lawrence only a few minutes ahead of Graham, Lawrence having to back off the pace with a damaged engine. The Skyline of Cliff Blackman and Kunla Buskachny is 6th overall. Dabner has been plagued with a misfire in the engine of his Conquest and needs the extra power if he's to catch the Nissan. His teammates, Serge and Vito, leave the regroup with a confident lead and just 4 stages remaining. The Bankfin Conquest continues to run rough, and the loss of power is evident in their stage times. Habich and Judd continue, obviously no threat to their fellow Class A competition. The Golf will need a lot of work and development before it's able to match the pace being set by the leading Class A cars. Running 4th on the road in stage 17, Hannes Grobler and Pierre Arries happy to keep their second place intact behind Serge and Vito. The Uno appears ahead of Buerta and Jordan on the road, the Volkswagen crew having to change a gearbox and take the penalties that will be added for lateness. Thus, in theory, the Uno now leads Class B. Also in an Uno are the Class D leaders, Viljoen and Johnston. Having done so well during the early part of the day, the Cliff Blackman Skyline just slides to a stop on stage 17.
What do you think is the problem?
Clutch is packed up this last stage. Damn. Well, we're going to carry on and battle through, see if we can get to the end.
Privateers battle on with little or no power to the wheels. But their rally ends just a few kilometers from the end of stage 17, the Skyline unable to move any further. we joined Serge and Vito in their conquest on stage 19, the final stage of the Tour de Total Rally. The Toyota crew have hardly faltered, and besides the problems in stage 4 on day 1, the crew have had a clean run. Hollis and Pierre have achieved what they set out to do, learning to work together as a crew and netting the second-place points in the process. Serge is taking no chances, and the Toyota approaches the end of the final stage at an easy pace. The sight of the Toyota arriving at the control puts a smile on the face of Flip Wilken, who heads up the management side of the Toyota Motorsport team and is the first to shake the hands of the Toyota crew. The final results, with penalties added, leave no changes to the leading 4 Class A cars. Lawrence and Paisley win Class C, finishing 5th ahead of Graham and Chadwick. Paolo Piazza Musso and Cindy Harding took Class B, while Class D went to Viljoen and Johnston.
Yeah, it's a good start for the beginning of the season. After yesterday afternoon with the rain, I thought I'm going to have quite a hectic rally, but it all came right today. And winning the event 3rd time, it's one of my best events, so I enjoy doing it.
Well, apart from the rally being very wet, it's been close to 5.5 months since our last event last year, and from a navigating point of view, it was a bit rusty in the beginning, and being that it was wet, makes it even a bit more difficult. But Serge managed to get used to the wet very quickly, and really we had no major problems apart from last night. Today was a lovely day.
The Tour de Total Rally was brought to you by Total South Africa.